let's think about the online world for a second. Let's think about a YouTube video. Instead of you watching an advertisement, you were paying for that content by watching the advertisement. What if you could directly contribute to that content creator through millibits, through satoshis? Like, here's a satoshi, a fraction of a penny, right? But through, if you get 500,000 views, that equates to $2,000, $3,000 or whatever, right? Like, you get more for it because people are actually directly contributing, and they can contribute more than what an ad would give you,
right?
And then you basically remove the middleman and you empower the content creator to connect directly with their fan base.
Right.
Have you heard of BitMessage?
No.
Imagine if you had to pay for every email that you send.
Oh my God.
But imagine if you could make it in micropayments. So you had to pay, a little handful of satoshis, fraction of a cent for every email you send. How many emails do you send a year?
Not that many.
Not that many, right?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, maybe your email usage costs you 2 cents a year.
Right.
What if somebody's trying to spam you? How much does that cost them? They're sending out millions of emails a day.
Boom. That's genius. That's genius.
Now, and think about it. Every email is attached to a micropayment.
Right.
So if somebody's spamming you, they're sending you money. They're sending you micropayments.
Right.
Right.
Oh.
Kind of changes
Game
things,
changer.
right?
All day.
Spam me. I'll make 1,000 emails. You guys can spam me all day. Well, what happens to spam when that happens?
Right.
It's not profitable anymore.
It's a very dangerous game to play, because you think about doing things like that, then you cut out ISPs, you kind of cut out internet service providers, because instead of paying $100 for internet, you pay for the usage of the internet that you're using, or you know what I mean? Like, so it really,
So it actually makes things a lot cheaper for people.
Yeah. Well, I always say like if you could pay for only the content you consume, as opposed to like paying a flat fee for every single month. Like, imagine if Netflix, let's say you go all month without watching any Netflix content, you still gotta have to pay the $15 for that content. But what if you could only pay what you watch?
Right.
Then it's a little more fair, I think. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's a utopia, bro.
I'm trying to change the world over here, man.
That's a free market, you know. You know what's utopian? Thinking of if we just vote a little harder, if we just elect the right people, we can create the perfect world. That's a little utopian.
It is.
You know what's not utopian? Recognizing that the market people will try to solve problems, and sometimes we'll be successful and sometimes we won't. There are problems with criminality and whatever. There are all these different problems, and as entrepreneurs, we have an obligation. We have a desire for profit to go and fix those problems for people and make money doing it
without being heavily taxed or without being heavily regulated. And
But that's not utopia. That's just reality.
I think it's my whole thing is just there's always going to be that group of people that have that ideal of like they're just exceedist in whatever they do. They just want to make the most money. They could be sociopaths, you know what I mean? You don't know, like they're, because I don't know, when you're making that much money, you're kind of on a different emotional level in my eyes. And I've talked to a lot of like people who have like more money than I'll probably ever have, and they're very, very, like how they think and how they just like do things is completely different from all of us. You know what I mean? Like how we can have normal conversations, we can just talk, but they're just, I don't know if they're just thinking about more ways to make money.
Now imagine Steve Jobs was a sociopath. What would he have done differently? Nothing.
That's
Absolutely
true.
Nothing. He served the needs of his market, and he made crap tons of money doing it. And if he was a sociopath just out there just for money, he still would have had to empathize with his market, with his customers, and think about what is the best way that I can serve their needs that they haven't even thought of yet.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you make money, by serving people.
So if everybody's on that same level,
The only way you can make money without actually serving your customers is if you're involving the government in it, and you're getting the government to pay you for something. Let's say you're, Archer Daniels Midland, and you're getting all kinds of subsidies from the government to throw away corn or to not grow something or whatever, right? Well, that means that the government is basically pointing a gun at a bunch of people and saying, hey, we're going to take this tax money from you and give it to whoever we want to, right? That's a little sociopathic. But in the market, the only way to make money in the market is by actually serving the needs of your customer. And that's, you're familiar with Isaac Asimov,
No.
the sci-fi author?
no.
iRobot? No?
Oh, I've seen.
I know iRobot.
So iRobot, that's based on a Isaac Asimov book, but Asimov was brilliant. He was an actual scientist writing sci-fi, but he said something very, very insightful. He said that violence is the last refuge of the incompetent, right? If you can't solve things through words,
Right.
then you'll try to solve things through violence. If you can't
Right.
solve things through win-win, then you'll try to solve things through win-lose.
Right.
Right? Only if you're incompetent.
Right.
Companies that will go and involve the government, let's say taxis that are, let's say here in Las Vegas, the taxis would like to prevent Uber from out competing them, right? So they're using the violence of the government in order to create regulations that make it more difficult for Uber,
Yeah.
right? The reason that they're doing that is because within the market, they're incompetent. And the truth is that Uber is a much better service. People prefer to use Uber.
Right.
And that's why Uber has decimated the taxi cartels, basically government-sponsored cartels all over the country, because it's a better service. And that's what markets do. Markets are always out competing. You know, competition creates better products for users, right? So even if you're a sociopath, if you're competing in the market, you still have to compete for your users.
Got it.